You know, it's about working on the right things at the right times in the right amounts so that you can actually logically put all the pieces together of your life and your training together into this nice, interconnected, woven vision that actually is something that you can grab and be like, aha!
Hi.
Hi. This video is about life periodization and periodization. The reason we're doing this video is because people will not stop asking me about this, even though it was just a footnote at the end of a 20-minute YouTube video I posted years ago. And also it's an update because the actual entire topic kind of explains why my posting frequency is seemingly random. Just to start off, you need to buy a book. Periodization by Tudor Bompa. It's a classic. Periodization. The term periodization originates from the word period, which is a way of describing a portion or division of time. Periodization is a method by which, now he says training, I'm saying something. It's a method by which something is divided into smaller, easy to manage segments that are typically referred to as phases. So, it's basically taking something and dividing it into phases. Okay, well, now what? Let's go over here. All right, I didn't actually write this on the board, but why periodization? Because periodization gives you superior results. It is the only way to get good at a bunch of things at the same time. If you try to do everything well at the same time, you can't unless you periodize your way there. How can you start periodizing? Yeah, pew, pew, pew. Remember the cat laser video? How can you start periodization? You blow up your life. Okay, so this is a blow up chart of a car. We took the car and we just, all right, so if I were just to blow up my life real quick and just grab a couple components that are very big, I own a big tool company, a large Instagram platform, YouTube, here I am, book projects, product development, relationships and network management, training, and a bunch of other things. So life is complicated, it's messy, and that's why I drew the little squiggly lines.
Well, it's like a tangle of hair on the floor.
It is, in fact. This is most people's lives. It's a clog. If your life is a clog, just remember, all the components that is clogging up your life can actually be turned into a beautiful braid.
Wow.
With periodization. With periodization, you too can have a braided life. The reason they're hair is because they're supposed to be woven together. All the pieces of your life come together to help each other. So if they feel disparate, you need to figure out a way to make them connected to this whole, which is a vision. So most of the time when you have a goal, it's something in your head that you can imagine, use your imagination, and you can, vision boards on Pinterest.
Uh-huh.
You have this vision in your head, okay? And the thing is that in order to reach your vision, you probably have to have a plan to get there, right?
I hope so.
Mike Tyson is famous for saying that everybody has a periodization plan until they get punched in the face. Well, if you're not punched in the face, maybe you have a flat tire.
You lost your car keys.
Or your credit card information gets compromised by a cybersecurity event.
Maybe something's been hacked.
Uh-oh. Being a good maker of plans isn't just about putting into things that you are going to do. It's about intentionally putting into things that you aren't going to do or deal with. During any good periodization plan, you should not be dealing with man-in-the-middle attacks, phishing, password attacks, malware, maladvertising, any sort of cybersecurity threat you should not have to deal with. You should have it all taken care of by making sure that you're using a good VPN like NordVPN with these benefits.
What? Which ones?
Someone hacked my whiteboard.
What?
Now my periodization video has been affected by cybersecurity. I should have turned on my VPN. It's not about having a good VPN, it's about actually using it, right?
That does help, yes.
It does help to actually use it. With NordVPN actually turned on, all your internet data stays safe behind a wall of next generation encryption, including your whiteboard data, I guess. Or maybe this was a cybersecurity threat, that threat protection by NordVPN is always turned on, even if your VPN isn't turned on. And with one Nord account, you can connect up to 6 different devices at any combination, including your whiteboard, which I didn't connect, I guess. I'm done with this whiteboard. I'm going back here. Okay. Click the link in the description below, nordvpn.com/Juji. And right now, you can get a 2-year plan with a huge discount with 1 additional month for free if you go to nordvpn.com/Juji. And it's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't let your internet data be compromised. Protect yourself with a wall of next-generation encryption with NordVPN.
And protect your whiteboards.
Protect your whiteboards.
Yes, those are valuable.
Now what? We're over here, okay? So we want to make our vision come to life. We want this, I guess, a gold Volkswagen Golf, okay? So
Precisely what I want.
now, distraction and disaster are always going to be things we have to deal with, but
Life happens.
Life happens, but if we have a plan, we know that, we have something that's going to give us a little bit more resilience and resolve to work towards. You have your vision. You're going to have to put it somewhere in the future, okay? So this is 2024. I've selected September 1st, 2024, which is about 600 days from the time this video is posted. Seriously, like periodization plans in general can be longer plans. Most people plan, they plan their day, maybe, if that.
But it could be like an Olympic 4-year cycle.
Exactly. Like, think about it. If you want to reach peak athletics, the Olympians, they plan in 4-year cycles. Holy crap. Now, each of those cycles is broken up into an annual plan, but hey, if you're watching this video past this date, I want you to reflect past September 1st, 2024. I want you to reflect back on what you're doing in January 2023. Could you have maybe changed some of your plans and sequences of what you work towards to be in a better place than you are now? Who knows? You're going to pick a date in the future, and what you're going to do is the date is when you want your vision that's like, okay, I think it can happen there. Okay, I think that's realistic. You're going to work backwards from that. Notice I underlined backwards. In fact, I can circle it a bunch of times too. This is an extremely useful mental device in order to make periodization work for you, is to have the date, have the vision, and work backwards from it. Not forwards, backwards. You work backwards from some event, whether it's a powerlifting meet, a bodybuilding show, you start from the future. Now, when you work backwards from something, you're gonna figure out, hey, I know what needs to kind of come before it. Now we need to figure out a logical sequence of things. So now this is a little thing I posted on my website about 10 years ago. Very rough. You're gonna start with a sketch, okay?
When was this from? Like, what year?
2013. This is just a quick training periodization example I gave.
What was your vision at that time, if we're starting off with that?
Be a buff meat nugget in the sun doing flips in funny pants.
All right, guys. This is the secret recipe for that.
So I built up my strength and focused on prioritizing that earlier, and then I phased it out. The acrobatics, I phased those up closer to when I actually needed them. I was working backwards from June, which was summer, which was where the sunlight hits your muscles and you look good, right?
Sure.
And when you're actually able to do flips outside, not in cold weather. And then the bodybuilding was more like hypertrophy isolation work. Notice how I kind of layered that up. The reason is because strength is more neurologically taxing, it takes longer to develop, but also it decays slower. So some things you build earlier and some things you build later. You sequence them. So you have to kind of look at everything, figure out their individual timelines and characteristics.
Referring back to this example, you were peaking strength earlier in that year of 2013, and you had started working on your skill work, your tricks. Now, both of those things are pretty neurologically taxing, right?
This is why they don't really kind of happen at the same time.
Okay.
So they kind of conflict. Also, my tricking here was not building skill, it was expressing skill. There's a difference between building a skill and expressing it. Expressing it might mean it might be latent for a while, and you just need to kind of reinvigorate it or wake it back up. That depends on speed, which as a biomotor characteristic is both built quickly and decays quickly, whereas strength is built slowly and decays slowly. So I'm depending on my strength lasting here with very minimum work. Some fun ideas.
Yeah.
So you want to determine your minimum. I'm going to move on to fun idea two. I should have really put this as one first, but whatever. Let's go back to strength for a second. Let's go back to anything that you can build that takes a second but lasts a long time. That might give you an idea what the minimum amount of maintenance volume or spin up volume for that thing is downstream. Flexibility is a great example for me. And I've found over the years that the minimum amount of volume I need to maintain my flexibility now is less than one good training session a month, if that. I don't know what the minimum is. All I know is I don't have to do almost any work on my flexibility anymore, and it seems to maintain itself, whether that's from carryover from working on other things or whatever the hell is going on. It was really useful to determine what the minimum amount of work it takes to maintain that skill, so I don't have to worry about maintaining it all the time. Now, if I need it for something in particular, and I need it something a little bit more reliable, let's say we're in here in August, and we're moving closer to September, I might want to spin up my flexibility by doing a couple extra sessions per week up to that point to kind of knock off the rust chunks. Think about it like a guitarist, who's a little rusty. He might do a couple extra sessions or something just to, okay, I got it back now, it's back in the fingers. Once you determine your minimums of the amount it takes to do things, then you're gonna be a little bit more relaxed in not having to do everything all the time, because some things will just take care of themselves and that they'll be easy to get back if you lose them, which is important because periodization is maturity, okay? It's being able to distinguish between real loss and not real loss. As Ralph Waldo Emerson has quoted, permanence is a word of degree. When we're talking about taking one step backwards, it takes 2 steps forward. That is like what periodization is. It's taking a step backwards to take 2 steps forward and being willing to take a temporary setback loss or just not being able to express a skill or a capability on hand at any given time is a mark of maturity. So you have to be able to accept that you're not going to be the best at everything all the time. Yes! Thank you. You got it. Fist bump with your, why are you wearing my gloves?
My hands are cold.
It's about working on the right things at the right times in the right amounts so that you can actually logically put all the pieces together of your life and your training together into this nice, interconnected, woven vision that actually is something that you can grab and be like, aha!
But I do think this brings up a point, right? Which is your point number 1 here, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Block to beef up your training support system.
It's something I've done about 3 or 4 times in the past 6 years or so. And I would set aside a block, periodization's phases, right? So I would set aside a block to beef up my training support system, which is basically beef up my life. For 1 month, I would put training down, I would put other things down, I would focus on looking around, and I would go, what are the friction points in my life? What are the systems of my life that if I build them now, they will continue to work with little maintenance or no maintenance? We're looking at things that have no decay or very little decay, very little maintenance that will continue to keep things running smoothly. For example, I've written lots of books. Okay.
Yes.
In The Builder, which is part of the New Year's bundle on my website, Jujimufu.com, I have building your training support system in the book. And I go into detail about, I give a ton of different examples of friction points that you will encounter in your life. And this is a fun, very relatable list of things like a toilet that doesn't flush without jiggling the handle for 10 seconds. An old microwave that heats food so slowly it shuts off or it takes too long to use. A computer that freezes randomly every day and requires a reboot. A sock drawer with too many socks, making it hard to find a matching pair of socks. A website that you always forget to log in to. There's literally hundreds of examples of friction points in your life that slow you down, that clog up your life, and that keep you from reaching your vision. But they all add up, these little gremlins, and in order to attack them, you have to first identify them as friction points. We have to give them a name. Once you are able to name something, you can have some power over it. Now that we've named it, we can start looking around and go, what are the things that's taking extra steps, bugging me, or that I've just been dealing with for years, that's just been sitting there, getting in my way, that I have to walk around with, all right? So when we're developing a block to beef up our training support system, we're basically building a block of time to correct all those issues and build all the systems and do all the things we need to make our life run so frickin' smooth that it doesn't interfere with these things having to come together.
So that chunk of time is used to build mental resilience, which when life does happen, which it inevitably does, it allows you maybe some compassion in those moments and allows you to be a little more adaptive, at least with timelines and whatnot.
Correct, but from a selfish standpoint, it just makes you better at being you. For example, if you're going to be doing a bodybuilding prep, I remember prepping before I prepped to make the prep better. I was securing all the resources I need, all the tools I need, scheduling, getting everything just kind of set up to where I would not have as much interference or friction. When you're calorically starved as a bodybuilder about to enter a show, every little thing can aggravate you more than it should. And if there's just not that many little things as there could have been because you took care of them before you started prepping, you would have been in better condition. See what I'm saying? Like literally, like better condition on stage.
So it looks like you've been doing this for a while. We haven't really addressed these 2 sheets over here. What are these?
So this is my periodization chart from 2004. Yeah, this is ridiculous. This chart is like, okay, it's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be, you know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be this complicated either. It could be as simple as a quick sticky note that you just put together and just identify a couple things, you know what I mean? And this is one I made a few years later as part of an educational series on my website, where it's basically, I took all the dates, all the months of the year, I made some blocks, I put what I was doing, et cetera, et cetera. So,
But it sounds like the basic premise comes down to this. Work on the right things at the right times in the right amounts.
and now it's your turn. I want you guys to give me some examples of things you've periodized in your life in phases. Now is the time to post a solid video because it's January and most people are probably failing their New Year's resolutions now. You want to start out slower and build yourself some confidence and some momentum so that, if anything,
That sounds like something that your friend Broderick has said.
he thinks that athletes should begin a much less aggressive starting point. So the failure point would be much closer to the end of a mesocycle. It would be closer to the end of the plan. So you start out easy to build momentum and quality and skill and confidence. You build all these things. And plus, if you actually do fail and don't complete it, it's at the very end where it doesn't matter as much and it's least relevant or troublesome. So if you fail something at the beginning, you're not going to finish it. So this is why you start out slow, you stretch out the timeline, and you take your time. Click on the bubble over here, see if I exist some more sometime in the near future. Watch these two videos on the other side of the screen that are also kind of like thought process style videos. And yeah, let us know what you guys think of this video. And I had fun making this one. This was fun.